Well, hey guys, hi, good morning. It is Brent Abel here, Web Tennis. My apologies, 7:39. Just ran a little bit late there with my Web Tennis live broadcast I do every morning at 7 a.m. out here in the West Coast. Special guest Jeff Jacklich on with me today, goldballhunting.com co-founder. And as always, he and I like to really yak and get it going. And so running a little bit late today on our January 2021 31 day reboot. Today is January 12th. And so guys, let's get right to it. I'm going to share my screen with you because today we're going to work on a very simple concept that I want you to consider. And I just want to go back to the first day, which is when I asked January 1st, asked you guys, what's one thing you could eliminate for the next 31 days? And as I mentioned to you, I mentioned before, my wife, mine, I are giving up alcohol for the month of January, 31 days, a dry January. Lots of folks are doing that. But there's other things in terms of what could you eliminate? But there's also things like, what could you add? What kind of exercise could you add? One of the days we had, I can't remember the exact date so far, but it was just crack a good sweat today, whatever that is. And so I hope that you have picked out one thing from this list and that you're working on eliminating that for the 31 days. Maybe you've added in some exercise that's been lacking on a daily basis. Doesn't have to be crazy, but I do love the term crack a good sweat today because, even if you're not literally sweating, if you're getting your heart rate up, and I always have to kind of condition that recommendation with, look, if you've got any kind of health issues, you're not sure if you should be doing that, check with your doctor, check with your medical professional. I have no medical certification whatsoever. So I'm just telling you what works for me. My recommendations of what's worked for me. And so guys, let's do this. Let's go down to today. And today it's not how, it's who. It's not how, it is who. And let's kind of break that down a little bit. So let's say, for example, that you're looking to kind of do, a diet makeover. I don't know, lack of a better term. Change your diet. You've been hearing some stuff about plant-based diets. You've been hearing some stuff about keto. You've been hearing some stuff about whatever. And you're thinking about changing your diet. And you're trying to figure it out, right? And so too often what happens is people think, well, how do I do this? And they get kind of stuck in the research phase, and the research phase creates procrastination. And you know what? The next thing you do is you never get started. And it's an easy excuse to come up with, well, I've got more research to do. And I know that we talked about this recently, which is getting ready to start. The thing is that you're way better off hiring somebody, the who part, to help you with whatever it is that you're trying to do. So for example, if it's a diet change, go find a dietitian, go find a nutritionist in your area, hire them. Don't try to figure it out on your own. Just go hire that person. If you're trying to figure out a fitness routine, you haven't worked out for a while, or whatever, some kind of exercise program, and you've got some limitation. I don't know. Maybe you can't, maybe you got a bum knee, you played football in high school, got it blown out, and ever since then, you can't do certain things. Well, rather than trying to, be the one who figures it out what you can do, just go find the who. Go hire somebody. And look, we're not talking about it, having to spend a ton of money, but we are talking about having to invest a little bit in your physical reset, in your physical reboot, whatever that is. And again, so it just, look, today's message is short. And I mean, a lot of, I talk about this a lot with tennis, and I tell players, look, why are you trying to figure this thing out on your own? It's not like this is like the easiest game in the world to figure out. I mean, certainly not rocket science, but, and I say, what do you do for a profession? They go, well, I'm a this, I'm a that. And I go, well, what, did you just kind of figure it out one day? No, you got trained on it. Either you went to school or you went to work for someone and you were an apprentice somewhere and you learned all the skills. Someone taught you that thing that you do. And so it's the same thing. Like tennis players, stop trying to figure this thing out. Go hire someone and make sure that, look, by the way, you got to hire someone that's good. I like to go find someone who's, well, they've actually gotten the result that I want. Right. And in my case, it might be, it might be in tennis. It certainly was back when I, finally got coached with Mr. Stowe, Tom Stowe out of Northern California. I'd been a DIYer forever, a do-it-yourselfer forever with my tennis game. And it kind of, sort of smoked and mirrored my way towards a decent player, but not a good player. I mean, I really had no upside to my game with what I was doing. And yet I kind of hung in there, kept trying to figure it out until finally I got frustrated. And I just said, look, who do I have to go see? And I talked to some guys around Northern California at the time. This was back in the early 80s. And the one name that kept coming up was Tom Stowe. And I'd known Mr. Stowe when I was a kid at the Berkeley Tennis Club. He was the general manager and head pro at the BTC when I was growing up there as a kid. I never took lessons from him then because I played mostly baseball. But when I finally decided that who's the guy I'm going to see, I finally went and found someone who not only had played at the level that I wanted to play at, but had also coached other players to get the same result that he'd gotten as well. And Mr. Stowe was a heck of a player back in the day. I mean, look, he won the NCAA doubles final with Bud Chandler darn near 100 years ago, back in 1925, right? And so when I got with Mr. Stowe, it didn't matter that he was, God, I don't know what his age was, but he was just a few years away from passing away. And yet I knew that this is the guy who's not only played at that level I want to get to, but has coached other people in terms of how to do it as well. So stop trying to figure this thing out on your own. And again, whatever it is, whatever your goal is, if it's weight loss, go hire a weight loss expert, right? Just don't white knuckle this thing. I mean, I've got some thoughts for you, but I'm not a nutritionist. I'm not a certified physical trainer. I mean, I can tell you what I do, and that might kind of give you some ideas. But rather than trying to figure out the how, go hire the who. Just go into and if you don't know someone off the top of your head, you must know someone who probably's got a good recommendation for you. And so that's the message for today. Short and sweet. Stop being the how do I do it and go hire the who, right? All right, guys, listen, as always, if you need some help with accountability during this month, if you want someone to kind of hold your hand in terms of checking in on a daily basis, maybe a couple times a day, if there's something that you're trying to do and you got some cravings, you're kind of white knuckling it, I'm your guy. Let me know. You can either direct message me at Facebook, or you can go ahead and shoot me an email, brent@webtennis.com. More than happy to help you. And look, the one thing that I've been sort of working on for a long time is how do I reduce inflammation, right? Because look, when I say crack a good sweat every day, I mean, I literally, yesterday I actually took a full rest day. Pretty darn rare for me to do that. I actually had a lot of work projects going on and one thing led to another. And I never really got on the stationary bike, didn't have tennis scheduled yesterday. So I took a complete day off yesterday. For me, that's pretty darn rare. I love to go out there and crack a good sweat. And so whether it's on the tennis court, in a drilling session or playing or it's off the court on my stationary bike, or I take my road bike and actually my mountain bike out there, or if it's, in the gym when we can get in there, I like to crack a good sweat every day. Well, listen, cracking a good sweat every day for me always creates a lot of inflammation, kind of this systemic soreness. I'm not going to call it arthritis, but I get a little beat up. And my only solution for years, decades, was 2 or 3 ibuprofen every day, right? A drug, miracle drug. And it worked. It worked. And look, when I'm playing a national tournament or any kind of a tournament, if I was getting into day 5 or day 6, I maybe had to up that ibuprofen to maybe 2 in the morning and 2 before bed because I was just so beat up. And so I've always known that not a great long-term solution. I just kind of felt like I was living on borrowed time. 9 months, a guy who represents a company, and they produce organic plant-based superfood supplements, not a diet, but supplements as we know them. And he said, and I just kind of was intrigued with the story, and really just kind of I stalked him, found him, and just said, can you help me? And he said, well, here's what I'm going to suggest. He suggested 4 products. I took them, and within about 10 days, my inflammation was to the point where I said, I don't need any more ibuprofen today. And so that's been the start of no ibuprofen for the last 9 months. And for me, that's a big deal. If you want to know what it is, because there's 4 products, don't have time today to get into it. But if you want to know what they are, more than happy to send you a short list. All you have to do is just shoot me an email, brent@webtennis.com, or direct message me over at Facebook. Happy to get that information to you. James, good morning, and you're welcome. Look, guys, with that said, it's time. It's time. Get out there today. Help someone else have a spectacular day. Guys, I'll see you again tomorrow.